And joining us now with analysis on the president's new coalition against the drug cartels is Mike Gonzales. He's a senior fellow at the Heritage Foundation, and he's also author of NextGen Marxism, What It Is and How to Combat It. Mike, thanks for joining us this morning. I'd love to get your initial thoughts on this concept of the Shield of Americas.
Yeah, look, it's an important alliance. This is the Trump administration is looking at Latin America now more than any of its predecessors. I think the fact that Marco Rubio is Secretary of State helps. But I think Trump's mindset already was set on the Western Hemisphere. So I think this summit in Miami with 12 top leaders, these are big countries as well. This is Jose Antonio Cast, my friend, soon to be the president of Chile. This is Javier Milei. This is Peña from Paraguay, whom I met with last year. And I see Bukele there right now next to Trump, a man who has cleaned up El Salvador. And I think just the last thing I'm going to say about this, I think the reason for that is that Trump came in wanting to do something about the drug smuggling, the narcotics that were killing so many Americans with overdose. And I think that's he's actually taking that very seriously, and he's doing exactly that.
Yeah, Mike, I want to expand on that last point you just made, because people love him or hate him for it. But more than any other president in memory, Trump seems unwilling to presume that there was wisdom in a precedent. In this case, we see a precedent of utilizing military and policing, which historically was separate silos of addressing criminality. Now Trump has turned that on its head, where he's interspersing military and police resource. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, the prime example of that is sending special forces to serve an arrest warrant on Nicolas Maduro, who was not the president of anywhere. He was the head of a cartel. He was not elected president. He was the head of a drug cartel called the Cartel de los Soles. So we arrest him, and he's now sitting in let's just put it this way, a public housing in Brooklyn. We're doing the same thing in Mexico. I talked to Mexican officials, Mexican politicians from the north of Mexico, and I said to this about 6 months ago, I said, are you guys ready for us to come in and arrest people? And they looked at each other and laughed. They said, that's already happening. You're already coming in. There's already rendition. When it becomes public, the president of Mexico will then take credit for it and say she's arrested these people. But, the execution of Mencho, the head of the Jalisco cartel, was exactly that. We gave them the intelligence. And this happened in Mexico. So I think this is a clear example of what you're saying.
Yeah, and to expand on how that goes into the political sphere, what has been the reactions from political adversaries, both domestically by the Democrats and in other countries? You mentioned Mexico, also Brazil, to Trump using military force for what traditionally has been the domain of, policing and the DEA.
Yeah, well, I mean, the puppet president of Cuba, Miguel Diaz-Canel, is talking about this, complaining about the summit, because he knows he's next. He could be next. It looks, I keep hearing that the DOJ is preparing indictments against Cuban leaders. Once that happened, there's nothing to stop them meeting the same fate that Maduro met. And the Democrats have just been, I just saw Ro Khanna, who, I'm very disappointed by him. He just tweeted out that we should have had diplomacy with the Castros, and he was talking up the deal that Obama cut, that Ben Rhodes cut. All I did was give a lifeline to the Castros. That lifeline ends right now.
Now, Mike, going back to the drug element of these cartels, obviously they work in human trafficking and other forms of things that are disruptive to security. But the main source of their revenue is the drug market. And with any market, you have a supply and demand. With fentanyl, that was extra devious because they were lacing the supply for what people thought were mostly recreational drugs. And in that case, they were tricking and ultimately causing an epidemic. But there is a demand for these these products that the cartels are smuggling. So how do you curtail the other side of that market? The operation against the cartels very much against going after the supply, but you have to also address the demand. What are you seeing in that regard?
Well, I'm seeing, look, you need to have economic growth. People need reasons to live. We cannot have the desolation of deindustrialized pockets of our country. I visited a couple of years ago a beautiful town in Iowa that where the majority of the people were, and the town was beautiful, but they had deindustrialized, and the majority of the people were cooking meth. You have to have economic growth. You have to have the renewal of the family at the center of American life. You have to have a renewal of religious belief. The only way we can deal with demand is by having a successful, thriving American with the family at its center again. That is a tougher thing to do, but I think that we have a lot of people in charge who are aware of the problem and want to do something about it. Certainly, we here at the Heritage Foundation have come up with a number of policies that put the family at the center of American life.
Well, we very much appreciate your analysis and your insights this morning. Mike Gonzales, thank you.
Thank you for having me.